Oh my goodness. Having to troubleshoot Unity things mid-stream. No, right as you're starting the stream. Right. Anyway, I'm sure the crowd's gonna be happy now that you're here, Vesper. Hi there, Krista. Pardon the minorly scuffed start on the stream earlier. It was Unity things. Yeah. He's back and he's even more animated, yes. You see, yesterday I was toiling through a blender trying to get the avatar scaling correct according to my anatomy. So I had to lengthen some of the bones. So like when I touch my knees, it's like here. I need a bit of adjustment, but it works well enough. Before, when I leaned on my knees, my shoulders would be right here. Right? Now it's like proper there. It's a subtle thing, but important all the same for immersion. Only here for 15 minutes before class starts. You have a good day at class, Crystal. I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you got this. Also, we have our very own moderator, none other than Vesper. Say hello to the chat, Vesper. Wait,
Hi, chat.
there you go.
I was muted
Sorry.
because I was yawning.
Yeah, it's okay. The Vesper AI takes a while to respond, you know, the processing power in it there. And Chat VPT. Yeah, I'm Chat GPT. She's Chat VPT. Vesper party time. But yes.
You know I don't go to parties.
Why, if it isn't Lit's none other? Greetings, Sir Gabos and Lady Vesper. Why am I speaking in Irish? Greetings, Sir Gabos and Lady Vesper. Hi, Litz. I see that you have been delving into some For Honor. I do master the way of your pokey stick, I see. We need to play, and I need you to spar that lady over there who has basically very little knowledge yet. You have like a few hours experience above, but I'm sure we can get her up to speed. But the thing is, she's been really enjoying Helldivers as of late. She's, well, as you would call it, hooked.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you think about Helldivers, Vasp? Originally, you were apprehensive, right?
Yeah, because, like, oh, I don't do well with crowds. I don't do well with things charging at me. You just need a tool to spread some liberty and you're good.
Ah, yes. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. Oops, what the heck? Lit says, I found out that I really like playing the big... Oops. That's the AFK boss.
Oops.
The big Chinese uncle with the spear. You mean Zhang Jun? Yeah, he was previously one of my favorite characters. He... Oh my goodness, if it ain't none other than Glops. It's been a while, how are you? Are you back to Dino tubing? Or... What are you up to nowadays? I enjoyed playing Helldivers 2 with you folks. Yes, it was fun, you know. I absolutely am enthralled with the idea of blowing up to mines I am unable to see because it's the same color as the dirt that we tread upon. Most excellent, yes. Up,
The last time I
enjoy.
played with Axiom was definitely a doozy with that.
Oh, yeah, right? What's this? I'm in the
No
United
warning
States right
whatsoever.
now. Good luck, Glumps. Hope you're having
Good
fun.
You're gonna need it.
The trauma. Yep, so here I was, running around with my rifle. Beep! Explode. -1 reinforcement. Ah, yes. Fun.
Thank you, Axiom, for not warning us.
Yes. I was Axiom and now it was with me and Blue. What's this? That trauma, right? We were playing quite a bit, Vesper and I showed her what Illuminate infested, overrun megacities was like. Um, you know what? It was actually fun. I love the new look. Thank you. Glad you do. Knowing your bias towards the design. Nothing fancy. Same old me. Wow, I have never listened to such cheaper music of this category. It says on the balcony.
Nothing fancy, but you went from creature to full-on lizard.
Elevator music, hurry, hurry. Animal Crossing music. When you stream, lets you play it. I like jazz where I can just sit down and sort of reflect on things. I have a more chill vibe when it comes to conversations. But yeah, how have your days been doing? Whether it's day or evening, depending on your funny time zones and all. As for me, I have been dabbling in some Avatar work, some Blender, some Unity, as mentioned, and yes. Good evening, Matthew. I hope the day is no, the night is as fine as you are. My brain is still fried from half an hour of the Dear intro song, says Litz. That's how Litz's Helldiver copes with the chaotic insanity that goes around us. Well, you did greet me good evening, so I simply greeted back in kind. I went to eat dinner this late, but now I'm back. Welcome back. It's interesting, the songs. I see a dragon behind you. Of course, that's none other than Vesper. Here you go. Have some Vesper.
Hi.
Hi. It's all good, lads. She woke up not too long ago, right?
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
Slept early, woke up late. Perfect for a growing Vesper. Fancying these new tunes. It sounds very stream extendy. Vesper brain uplink, it's at 49%. Yes. Also, if you may notice, I'm starting stream on time of all things. Instead of being on 12 o'clock like last time, or 12:30 the last time before last time, so on and so forth. I'm 10:30. Who knows? A small hiccup in the Unity part, but we always run into bumps in the road, don't we? Should be used to it by now.
I mean, at least the hiccup sorted out. Your froze were like cardboard when you first tried to stream today.
Right? Gosh. Once in a full moon, that's true. 100%. Nothing scuffed tonight. I suppose. Yes. I just want to go play. Crystal says it's time for me to pop away for classes. Have a good stream. Bye, Crystal. See you around. I wonder what classes Crystal's going to be attending. Have you guys eaten yet? I have. I'm actually so full. Thank you. Hmm. Seems a little bland, isn't it? Just a good old black background. Let me see if I can fix the lighting. Bam. Blue. Bam. Red. Blue. Neutral. Warmer.
Corgo 1000 not enough. Get some more Kappa.
That was quite the multiplier. You started out with one little bitty, which I presume was marching along to go open the door, and then came 1000 after. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Maya Sakura. Bittings, bittings. The money bar isn't even on stream. You know what?
Oh.
That's true. It's it's right there. Thank you so much, Litz. Yeah, chat, I need that money to survive. Okay. I was wondering how long it would take you until you'd notice. When you look at the decimal, the 0.01. Right. It was a test. So, totally 100% not trying to raise funds or anything, you know. That's why it's not there. It's like not important. Hi there, Tranks. Not missing the extra zero this time. Gosh, oh golly gosh. Okay, I don't like the music. I'm gonna go back to my usual one. There we go. But yes, yeah. A bit of a slow night. Yeah. Gosh. Yes, the song. That one singular track that I always play on stream. Big yawn. Gosh, Matt, you know what? We haven't caught up in VR chat in a while, haven't we? What's this? Matthew's busy with the Goober Squad, was it? Or something like that. I forget the name. Hey, at least I didn't say you being busy with Erp. You know, I said the friend group. What does an owl say when he's alone in the room? Instead of hoot hoot, it's Erp. Erp. Yeah. Because we always have Matthew, right? He's like he purposely doesn't wear his inner shirt, like just the coat that's very loose that shows a lot of his muscle definition. I'm now having second thoughts if I should have done that update to his Avi. So
He brushes it off as it clipping, but
yeah, clipping, and like, oh, it's more comfortable. Hi there, Doran. How come Geb always managed to stream in the middle of a hill dive? Well, this is my streaming schedule. Between 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. is when I start, plus 8 GMT. So yeah, you should use that by now, Blue. Can't deny the truth. He's right, chat. Ah. Oh my, I'm not wearing my friendship bracelet, am I? Let there be bracelet. Never used the shirt. Gotcha. The long story short, I shouldn't fix the minor clipping on it. You know, I like the term that Matthew uses. Because when me and Howler were talking, he said, Matthew, you know, you look kind of like the Yakuza. Matthew's like, yeah, I'm a Yakuza. The Yakuza. It's not Yakuza, it's Yakuza, which is like a more a bathhouse sort of like gang, you know. Like these are the guys actually allowed into onsens. We just happen to be hell diving around this time too. Of course. Spreading managed democracy instead of lounging around on the stream like mine. That is good. How are you doing today, Cam? I am doing okay. I've been trying this new rice. It's called shirataki rice, so it's made of konjac flour and a little bit of rice flour mixed in, and it's supposed to be a low calorie, super high fiber sort of thing. And well, I dare say I actually like the consistency. It's supposed to have around 1/4 the calories of actual rice. I mean, so if I have So if the calorific budget for rice is only 1/4 as much, I can use the remaining 3/4 that's been freed up for important things like chocolate shakes and whatnot. You know, it's an important part of the diet. Cheesecakes, perchance, prawn dumplings. Very important, super important. It's called the cookie storage allocation. Kidding, Chad. I actually haven't bought ice cream in goodness, how long has it been now? Uh, ah, 4 months? I'm about to upgrade my first ship module to tier 5. Congratulations, the Blue. Litz, you and I have to go to difficulty 7 or 8 now. 6 is just a walk in the park with Vesper. How many kills have you been getting on average now? 400 plus, right? That's a huge jump from like 69 to 100. Let's go with her new best friend, Backpack Puppy.
Yes, because I forgot the actual name of it, so it's just been titled Backpack Puppy.
What's this? Hi, Gab. I missed your stream so much I couldn't catch up with them because I'm busy with class. Good, because you're focusing on priorities, which is class. Also, hello. I'm Innocent Teaching. Good evening, Gab. How are you? I'm okay. Pink Jew. It's been a while. Hi there, Pink Jew. What have you been creating as of late? Waggy. 6 was the warm up for Vesper, right? I was trying to get my diploma. I mean, did you manage to get your diploma? I sure hope so. It'd be such a travesty if you didn't. um, I think it's a walk in the park for Vesper because they're safe soldiers. Having AI helping you get distracting the mobs and other atrocities overrunning the city sure does help a lot. I remember when we went to Oshan, right? And then we went underground. Me, Litz, and Vesper,
We all died.
we all died. That's as simple as we can put it. Ah, yes. Good, good. So who's the cute one next to you, Gab? That is Vesper. None other. And it's wow, she's really bright. Hold on. Let's see how she looks like in natural light. I'm curious. Let there be natural light. There you go.
I'm no
Except-
longer blinding, yay.
Except I need the blinding light chat. So I don't appear so dark. See if I dial it down a notch. Barely. I could barely be seen. Let's go. There we go. Good balance. A bit brighter. The spotlight. There's a reason there's lighting during film shoots, chat. Oh yes, Ocean is such a nightmare, says Blue. 100% it is. 10 has more brutal spawns. Different 10 ICBMs on bots is absurdly high due to how many War Striders spawn. I think I'll finally start painting the dragon figure today, says Slits. Good luck. I'm excited to see the colors that you're gonna pick. I wonder how it's gonna turn out.
Ah, yes, so whenever she passes by it, lizard.
Oh my god. She's going to put it on top of her lamp. So she has this little thing, like a hanging lamp, and she wanted an ornament on top, which I think would look nice. Nice to meet your acquaintance, Mrs. Teaching.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. Whenever I go hell dive on a bot planet, I actually turn off the music. And it has this very grim, dark, gritty, war-torn feel to it. It's strange having to go into your hell pods and not hearing the usual music that plays. It kind of reminded me of Battlefield, in all honesty. I also got to appreciate the sound design that the team has, well, put into the guns. The guns just sound so good, the weapons explosions. Really spot on. But I turned it back on after like an hour or so because nothing really riles you up more than the actual original music that goes on. "30 minutes into me playing with no music, I started playing this exact track that you're hearing. So I started playing jazz. Why, if it isn't Mystic, how's the welding lessons going? I feel like my light is misplaced. Here, the other side. Flashlight. Hey ho, dear Geb and Vesper. Hope you're good. Yes. Listening to white girl music while fighting for democracy in your license plates. That point of the fire.
Yeah, maybe don't melt down your coins in the fire.
I did Litios. Now that I think about it, my streams are, to myself, sort of like a meditative experience. I have to allocate a few hours just sitting in front of, as you can see, mostly scenery or ambient fire, light, soft glow of the campfire. Listen to music. Reply to voices of people I can't see.
At least you're not alone.
Of course not.
Flirting with this disaster became me.
Hello, Kai.
Me as a fool to be almost blue, almost touching it.
Positions like give me a backing.
There's a part of me that's always true. Always. All the things that you promised with your
You know a place we haven't visited in a while, Vesp? District Roboto. I wonder how they're doing.
Ah, yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a while, hasn't it? I think ever since the move. I haven't set foot in there for more than a month. How about this Friday? That's where we head.
I I'll be there.
Oh,
Just
right. So it's just... Okay, I'll say hello to Chef and the others for you.
thank you. Unfortunately, I have business elsewhere that day.
Yeah.
Retail.
I think I have more than enough, Kaya. Ugh. Why if it isn't Pierre? Totally not lactose intolerant, Pierre. Pleasure seeing you here. How goes everything? Sounds like you need to restart. Glad to see you up and at 'em. That's true, early am I not? I wonder if I can actually stream. I mean, end the stream on time. 100% I should be able to. Hello, Rand. Today? I have no idea actually. Hmm. I am curious though as to how the headset's gonna be. It really just looks like a Quest headset to me. Or a Quest derivative. Speaking of
Could very
which,
well be.
it probably is. I'm using a Quest Pro, right? I did not know that the lighthouses I'm using turns off automatically. It does not turn off automatically if you don't have an index. So essentially, they've been running straight for a couple of months. I mean, however long I've been using my knuckles. And yesterday, I discovered an app called OVR Lighthouse Manager, which whenever you turn off Steam VR, it puts your lighthouses to sleep, which is great. I know it'll last a
So
couple of
where's all the
years of
electricity
non-stop
bill I can-
usage. It minorly, I think it's 27 watts each.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Bunch of lasers sweeping the room all the time. I could have told you about that app too. Yeah. Sleepy? No, I'm just. Well, let's just say I woke up not too long ago prior to stream, and then Vesper followed suit. And we're quite literally just starting our day. And I'm itching to I wanna play.
I do want to play. It's just I got homework to do first.
You know you can do your homework while I stream, and then after we can reconvene. I suggest you.
I don't want to be here.
Shit. Okay. I guess me and Litz are gonna For Honor first. It's gonna be something like the Quest Pro or Apple Vision, but made by Valve. It's bound to be good, says Kaya. Same. I really hope it's as good as I imagine it to be. Will it have face tracking, I wonder? Is it gonna be lighthouse based, or is it... gonna be like slam tracking? Have you ever broken a bone? Myself or another? Myself? No, I have not.
I count him lucky. I broke 2 bones doing something stupid.
Peachy says, out of curiosity, does Vesper stream as well? What? Does she catch your eye,
Nope.
Peachy? Beautiful as she is, yes. She unfortunately does not stream. You only find her here, chat. Moving you to my computer, big man. Sure. I did break bones too. Really, Matthew? I wonder how. Despite my number of accidents involving two-wheelers, I surprisingly never broke a bone. My companion, on the other hand, though, she was bound to a wheelchair for quite a while. And crutches.
Yeah, I took a running jump over a little stack of gym mats, snagged my ankle on the edge, and wham, onto a concrete floor. So, left ankle, or not left ankle, left leg, right arm, fractures.
So, this and this got borked on Vesper's side.
Fun.
So, Poof went through a lot. Gotcha. I cannot lie, so to answer you, Gabe, yes, she does. Right? Good morning, Gabe. It's been quite some time, says CQ Vesper? CQ the crow? Why are you Vesper now? I thought you were a
Oh.
raccoon.
Huh?
Like, remember the crow? He changed forms into
Yeah.
something else and then.
Ah.
Curious. Matthew broke his ribs, his collarbone, and bone part of the foot. Gosh. There's another place I miss. That's not District Roboto. It's Complex 7. You might recall seeing me being under the company of some robots that are dancing. How long does it take to heal bones? A while. How long did it take you, Vesp?
How long did it take me?
Yeah.
So, what exactly? Sorry.
How long did it take for you to heal your fractures?
Oh, let's see. I did the stupid stuff in like January 14th, so beginning of 2020, and then by March I was in crutches. So
The 3 months. Okay. 3 months bound to the
3
funny
months.
chair.
Yeah, 3 months bound to the chair, and then like 3 more with the crutches,
I see.
and then a lot of physical therapy as well.
When you say physical therapy, was it like workout routines, learning how to walk?
Yeah, And basically, like, oh, say, yeah, basically just using my leg normally again.
I see.
So yeah, that also had me working on my balance there too, which. Mm.
Well, I'm glad you're back to walking condition. Hey, even jogging.
Yes,
I remember you sprinting to work.
yeah.
Sprinting to work.
Yeah, I don't miss that wheelchair.
That's a bit bad. Like you have to go to the bathroom and then you're not PWD designed bathrooms. Like how do you like to lift yourself up?
I was just like, okay, hands on the sides of the wheelchair, lock the wheels, use your good leg to get up, grab onto the support rails, sort of hobble over to the toilet.
Oh my god. At least you had the good leg. Imagine if both legs were like out. That'd be a big problem.
Hey,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be a struggle.
It says, I've never broke anything so far, but I did have some problems with my joints, mainly my wrists and my ankles, where they would just lock in place and couldn't move them anymore. Like, oh dear. So if you would force them, is it because of your muscles tensing up, or wonder what it could be? Also, hi Max. In all caps, you double X's. Thank you for the subscription. Here I am with a crummy background again. I have a feeling we need to move to the diner, Vesp. What do you say?
I'm going for it.
Alright, don't mind me, chat. Some immersion breaking scooting is gonna happen.
We can defy gravity if we want to.
Almost there. Up. Hello, hi. And we're back. Perfect. Vesp can sit by. You can sit next to me if you wish. We've always been sitting across each other.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I keep on mistaking that. Whoops. Chronic Lurker, says Max. But thank you for your content. You and the community put me at ease. So thanks. Well, thank you for enjoying the stream. Not the most exciting stream here on Twitch. I try to offer something different though. Oh dear, that's an empty campfire. An empty chair. Now, let's go. Pitch that real quick. Have a nice all establishing shot. There you go, Chad. Put a bit of depth of field. Then pin 3 is supposed to be... No, pin 2 is the Vesper cam. No, here. No, over here. Oh, sounds like the Helldivers thing where you're plotting the map. hold on. Focus. Semi-auto. There, take a picture, chat. Hurry. Blink and you missed it. Perfect. There we go. Vesper cam. It should just be blurry in the background. Or should I be included? No, there. No, 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 no. The camera should be here, so she's like facing me mid conversation. There we go. Lighting's not the best though. Easy to solve. Flattering. Sorry, I was fixing the camera. Wonder if mine got borked. A bit. Not so much. I'm gonna look as well while I draw. Good luck with drawing. Ooh. What's this? Dear CQ. Hello, Ramington. Quite a number of protogens dropping by on streams. Mhm. Let's continue on about the talk of fractures. No idea what the issue was. I just got something like Velcro cast that I could put on and off myself. Like the little braces and
What's up?
nothing. I'm just messing around with the camera. What's this? Max says, I know you often get a lot of questions. Hopefully this isn't a repeat. However, what made you want to dip into streaming and more specifically this genre of content? I originally started as a VTuber. Again, usual here, bottom right of your screen, animated, and then I'm gonna play some game. I used to play Battlefield. But then again, I was not able to focus on my chatters at all as I was trying to weave and dodge through gunfire. I was more preoccupied trying to keep myself alive instead of reading your messages. And I said, I want to do a stream in which I can relax and at the same time read everyone's messages. Well, at least almost everyone's. And hence came the streams in which I do just this, where I quite literally just chill and put my desire for a more cinematic feel when it comes to things. I try my best to make my streams look like cutscenes and games. Far too many streamers I've seen using VR chat don't maximize what VR chat can do. I'm not saying everybody, but most. You would just see them like this, and then they're like standing in the middle. Like this. So much negative space. So I'm not one to speak. Might get cancelled on the internet. I just like having shots like these. But yes. Also, I get to showcase like the little things I learn about fixing Avies. For example, when it comes to face tracking, I've well, dip my hand into how the Hydra's face tracking works, for example. I've tried the base face tracking, and then now I work with Hantors. I mean, I used it. That's what I meant by work. And learning from these two, and my previous favorite face tracking template, which is from Royalties on the Nova Beast and Vulpers, I custom tailored the shape keys that you're seeing now. It's not that big of a difference, but I think it conveys emotions and phonetics a little better, according to me. Personal opinion. I worked on Vespers too. The base face track of the Luna Beast is quite subdued, in all honesty. Except she likes grinning really widely, so I may have to. Yes. Oh yeah, that's why. I've always thought of
I mean, it's.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, it's just. I also think it is also very suiting because I've got the whole white jaw going on, so you can really see when I smile.
That's true. Most of the VR chat streamers I see, they either showcase their fantastic, scantily clad bodies dancing, or it would be, from what I see, what they call it, like cuddle parties. It's just the streamer in like a super relaxed pose, and then there's like other people in the back just existing. I want to present something else. I want to present like a slice of life. Like you're peering into an actual setting in which characters, well, me and Vesper are, and whoever gets dropped by, and we're part of a bigger world. Like here we are right after dinner, burning some time, deciding to go chat with you. Things like these. Also, you may notice I'm not one of those streamers that, well, leave themselves at the mercy of chat. They are essentially circus animals. There's really no way around it. Come on. You would bark, you would yap, roll over. Accept being called a good boy or girl. Accept being shocked electrically in exchange for a few coins. I, unlike most, like to preserve my dignity. Thank you. Maybe that's what they're into. Not gonna judge. You do you, as I would say.
Yeah, just don't try to drag anyone in with it that doesn't want to, you know.
Yeah, I'm not
You
naming
do you.
anybody. Yeah, you just do you. If it's a business strategy that works for you, fantastic. I applaud you for your effort and cleverness. But if you tell me to do that too, because I've had like DMs, Geb, you should do this and that, do the funny skits or just get like the pie shock and like that's easy, or show more of your skin, do sexy stuff. I said no. Yeah, that's easier to get a following, get numbers, get more money. But no, don't push that upon me. I'm perfectly happy with what I'm doing, thank you. And I don't want to depend on other people either. Late says, safe to say their streams leave me with secondhand embarrassment. But as you've said, you do you. Exactly. It's difficult to speak on matters like these without people trying to witch hunt you. Oh, we all know how the furry fandom absolutely thrives on drama and canceling people, right? That's why I don't really collaborate with anybody. I'm on my own. If my sink ships, it will all be because of myself.
If I sink ships.
No, if my ship sinks. If
You
my
said
ship
it the other
sinks,
one.
What?
Yeah. If you said if your sink ships.
Ah, my apologies for the mistake. Thank you for
It's
correcting me.
okay. I was poking a little fun at you, sorry. It's
Max
okay.
says, since stumbling across you and your content on Twitter, I was very much pulled in by your cinematic and creative approach to things, I must say. It's wonderful. And sometimes the smallest tweaks and their changes can make all the difference. It does. Second, I don't like boasting like most streamers would. It's a common tale to see a lot of would be content creators let the fame and fortune get to their head, call themselves professional, this and that. Not here. I'm just a guy, Chan. I speak truths that not everybody wishes to accept, let alone listen or hear. I think my stretch and hydrate got missed. Of course. Sure. Oh my god. You know what? I needed it either way. My left shoulder's a bit stiff. Shout out to all the first that are phantom allergic to tomato. I remember seeing that somewhere on TikTok. I don't know who,
Oh my god.
but I remember seeing that.
Yeah, no. There's not really much phantom anything going on down here.
Listen, I think we need to discuss about the topic. A lot of people are misunderstanding phantom pain from phantom sense. If you close your eyes and recall the smell of your mother's favorite perfume, can you not smell it as well? That is a phantom sense. The perfume itself isn't there, but your memory uses information it already knows to fabricate a facsimile of it, in which your senses are able to recept it, right? Phantom sense, phantom touch is real. You don't necessarily have to be an amputee because there's a medical term called phantom pain about it, like the phantom limb syndrome. And that's what I think irks most of the disabled VR chat players. But again, if you put your mind into things, like my example, right? You can imagine how it tastes, how it smells, how it feels. So if you can imagine a salt shaker shaking salt into the back of your tongue, or you can remember the scent of buttered sauteed mushrooms or fried rice, what's to say you cannot imagine or recall the sensation of somebody's fingertips running across your arm? Just like that. Right? I think it's simply a situation of mislabeling. But phantom allergies? I think the closest thing I can imagine that, Vesper, is something called psychosomatic symptoms. For example, it's something that stressed your body out so much. The mere recall of the situation activates your body's defensive systems, and for some odd reason, you like get fevers or whatever. That's the closest thing I can imagine. But I understand why it is being called out and mocked by the vast majority. It's because these people don't actually have that case of severe allergy, that it's traumatic enough that they can recall it. They are simply following trends, right? You know, like how some people write they have 25 mental illnesses in their bio just to follow trends, right? They have to be damaged somehow or struggling with something in order to be in and socially acceptable within a certain deranged circle of people. Sad, really.
I never quite got that, honestly. Just putting mental illnesses in your bio as if that's going to affect your interactions at all.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're after bad company, then by all means, go live with your delusions. Yeah. It's these type of people that makes most of us in VR chat look and have a bad name. Again, like my pinned post on Twitter, I'm on a mission to prove that not every corner of the internet involving furries, specifically VR chat or content creation, has to be the same musky, stinky, degenerate, filth infested place that the vast majority thinks it is. I'm no saint.
And the big, unfortunately, a big part of that is the fact that even though the furry fandom isn't exactly the biggest fandom, it's the fandom that's the most loud about issues going on throughout it. So,
God, that too.
so like, bad people who are doing like some very, very illegal stuff, they get called out on the internet. At the same time, though, that also becomes a generalization of all furries. So,
Yeah, unfortunately.
mhm.
Chris Iris says, Hi there, Kim. I wanted to say thank you for helping with my health. I want to say thank you for helping me keep me relaxed. You're a cool dude. Oh gosh, I'm glad you're doing better and somehow able to soothe whatever ails you're having. Go sit, relax. I'll be here for a while. Patty Sally says, a bit off topic, but your aesthetic here has inspired me to draw today, so thank you. No, thank you. Dobiny. Hi there, Howler. We might play For Honor after stream. Me and Litz. While Vesper's busy with Homer, probably gonna drag her to some sparring. And then we're gonna Helldivers. But yeah.
Yeah, I might seem a little stupid that I'm here right now, but Sunday evening, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, all schoolwork in the morning, no fun.
That's true.
So I decided to do something fun first for once.
Besides Waffle, people on the internet tend to want to sensationalize clout, negative things, more than good news. Unfortunately, a person like me speaking truths like these is not exactly the most welcome in any furry circle that I've met. The number of friends I have, again, chat, in this game can be counted in two hands. That's why I'm always surprised whenever there's so much of you watching, lingering, staying. your stream is really relaxing. Hence my jazzy music playing and whatnot. Thank you, Rengar. Pierre says, mental illness is such a serious topic. I never understood why people fake them because it's not a fun time having them. Precisely. Couldn't have been said better.
I guess it also could be a sense of quote unquote belonging because I'm gonna be honest, so many VR chatters here are so chronically online that it's a little scary to see.
That's true.
We're out here acting like a lunatic, and how are you gonna get a job if they hear that you act like this on this platform?
Yeah. Yes, it's Lumia. Chris is asking, how do you do it? How are you just so... Please, I am nothing amazing or anything. I am simply... How should I say this? I am my own island. I sail my own ship. I don't force anybody to go sail with me. If you're with me, then cool. If you're not, then not. I don't vocalize against one side or another. I simply try to remind the world of this thing called common sense and courtesy. A lot of which have forgotten nowadays. I myself, again, am not truly neutral with things. But unlike others who have the mentality of, if you're not with me, you're against me. No, we can disagree on things, but still remain friends, right? I may have a different preference for a car, but we can still remain friends, right? Second, I try my best to keep down to earth. Humility is one trait that most have forgotten as well. Far too many people will gloat achievements that I don't even know they really have, or say this and that about them. They flex the tiniest of things and wins that they have. They look down upon others which do not have what they have. Me, rich, poor. I was homeless once, chat, for around a year. My personality has always just been the same. I learn things day by day. I grow wiser through each mistake that I encounter. But that's probably what sets me apart from most. People don't want to learn from their mistakes. They want to remain in it. They revile in toxicity and drama. People don't know how to move on, probably because they have nothing better to do or are incapable of growing any further than the point they're already at. Yeah, says, I got an official diagnosis of ADHD recently. Self-diagnosis was enough for a short while because of how much research I did. Honestly, for me, I just choose not to let whatever I have bother me or make it the center of my personality, unlike most.
Making your mental.
Oh,
Of course. Thank you, virtual desktop. Okay, there we go.
welcome back.
Yeah. Making your mental illness your entire personality. It's not cute. It just makes you annoying. I'm gonna be frank.
110%.
Just okay, ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't know that you had anxiety, depression, phantom sense, phantom pain, phantom this, that, and the other thing. I didn't mean to run into you.
Exactly. In the furry fandom, what I've noticed is most make their entire personality, no, not even just the furry fandom, this extends to everybody chronically online, especially via chat. They make their personality revolve around two things: mental illnesses that they may or may not have, and two is sexuality. No way I can sugarcoat it, really. Maybe their minds work differently than ours, but will make that your core, your center. Really telling of the worth of the person before me, if that's how you present yourself as. Chris says I gotta go. Bye, Gem. I hope you have a great day as well, and thank you for answering my question. Bye. See you around. It's nice having you here. Also, again, my tip that I give to everybody: once you realize who and what to expend energy upon, that's when you find peace. If you choose to be bothered by every single little raindrop that falls on your head, you'll never be able to focus on anything else ahead of you, like the road that you should take your steps. Walk, be unbothered. You're wet anyway. Some people are just plain too sensitive. So sensitive to the point that any form of constructive feedback or a peaceful civil debate has no room within their persona. Yes. That's definitely fair to see. A lot of my personality is hyperfixating on dinosaurs and my art, and just generally having a good sense of who I will use my time with and if it is good for me to do. Let's just look. I'm gay. I've had a ton of arguments with my mom about her telling me I'm not gay because the homosexuals in her work act differently. Again, just be unbothered. One of my closest friends is queer. Does it bother me? No. Do I poke fun about it to them? Yes. Can he take a joke? Yes. That's why we're friends.
I mean, heck, I
that's-
even tease them.
Yeah. And that's how you know I will have that person's back if and when they need me, and vice versa. How can you depend on somebody who crumples with a mere word or two, right? You expect them to have a spine that will have a shoulder in which you can lean on. No.
I was in that situation before. When you need help, the moment you're reaching out to ask for someone to help you rather than coddle you,
Exactly.
they're not going to do it. They're just going to slink away.
I think the root of there being so many sensitive people nowadays is because there are even weaker, more plentiful, weaker people around. A backbone, broader shoulders. People would rather focus on distractions, escapisms, instead of making yourself stronger, reinforcing your center. Change instead of self acceptance. Oh no, I am permanently mentally ill because I said so. No, you are convincing yourself at this point that you are, but you know you can, and you don't even have a diagnosis yet. But yeah, I could go on and go on.
Honestly, the worst thing you can do is limit yourself.
I understand the need for
Human
actual
beings.
prescription medicine. Yes,
Hmm.
these are given by medical professionals trained in their field for years, decades. But if you go, for example, like the substance route or whatever you find in the gray market in hopes of treating yourself, you're putting yourself more at risk. Transformative change for the worse. Howler says, isn't that the case that if you have anxiety about something, talking more and more about your concerns with people is a thing that will help? Instead, people block others they disagree with, and it all evolves into a bubble and even more anxiety. Exactly. And the only other person or people they're gonna
Mhm.
let into that bubble are the same people who reject the same things. If someone can't have their own back, how can they have yours? Exactly. Are you that weak that a few words is enough to wound you?
Well, some insults might hurt. At the same time, it's just, are you really going to lose your mind over one teeny little pebble being thrown your way?
Exactly.
Life's seriously full of tiny little inconveniences. So, time after time after time again, it will happen. At the same time, though, are you going to crash out over that?
Precisely. Again, I am not an individual without fault, Chad. Been through many, many lesson-rich mistakes in my life. But I choose to focus on self-improvement, to move forward instead. Like some others, still stuck in the past.
Hmm. It's just if you continue to linger on how you've hurt people and not do anything about it, how this, that, and the other thing happened, but you're still not doing anything about it, you're stuck in the same hole. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'm surprised, despite the past 30 minutes about me discussing sensitive things. I see most of you are still here watching.
Hmm.
So I
I
think
think it's also
most of
because
you
those who
agree.
are. I'm thinking that it's also those who are actually dealing with those issues are also fed up with those who are like making their entire personality some mental illnesses that they may or may not even have.
Max Howler says, a way I partially gauge my, say, stress level is reminding myself, imagining myself in a place where I have nothing whatsoever. Nobody around, I would still somehow make it work. From that point, most things seem like add ons rather than necessities. Huh, I see. Torn says, these down to earth, realistic conversations is one thing I really enjoy about watching you. Thank you, Dorn. I appreciate you.
Well, it's not like we don't really have the time or the patience to be coddling anyone, really. This is mostly just a older individual stream, you know? We're pretty much all adults, so why would we need to coddle each other?
Yep. Best Geb moments. Real conversations with Geb. Yeah, I can see it now. Instagram premium content. I'm just a guy, chat. Like any other. Pierre says, I've met a good many people that slot problems they're having into every conversation. It's exhausting. Rather chat it up about my interests. Exactly. Salute, Gebos. Thank you, Grootty. Hazy says, I've been honestly struggling with similar vibes, so if anything, thank you, Bo. You're welcome. I offer words, talks that are real. Nothing sugar-coated. Nothing the opposite of it. Filled with spite or malice.
Yeah, we're not here to disillusion anyone from anything. We're just being honest.
And it's simple. If you don't agree with what I say, you don't like it here, please. I won't hold it against you if you wish to move on. Heck, never drop by again. It's okay. The world isn't built around a singular mind with singular interests and singular views anyway. Don't have to be violent about it. Hello, Grandpa.
flirting with this
Such
disaster.
nice words thrown our way, Vesp. Says we're beautiful. I think she deserves the title more than I do.
Ah, come on. What, you don't think men can be beautiful too?
Oh,
You
of
are?
course they can.
Almost touching it will almost do. There's a part of me that's always true. Always. All the things that you promised with your eyes, I see in hers too. Now your eyes are red from crying. Almost you. Almost me.
You know what? I have the. There we go. Oh my god, it's Lumiere again. Yes, chat, you may hear cats every now and then here. They're around. I don't think we'll catch them on camera anytime soon, but oh, they are. They're around. Huh? Yeah. Oh god. I'm thinking of spending $600, boss. What are you gonna buy this time, Matthew? $600 is no joke.
Yeah, it isn't.
Wood cap VR gloves. One, Matthew. Trust me when I say this. You are going to need Vive trackers for it. So you have your wood cap gloves, right? Yes, you can put your Quest controllers on it, but what's the use because it's gonna be invisible when you put it like behind your back. You might as well just use the optical tracking in your Quest if your field of view of usage is just like this. It's an expensive thing that I would only suggest if you already are in the whole Vive ecosystem. You have the base stations and whatnot. Get your face tracking first, before anything else. You may get good finger tracking, but I'm still talking to a mannequin who does nothing but play around with predetermined gestures. Notice how someone with face tracking is just much more organic to converse with, like they're an actual person. I'm simply suggesting your change of order when it comes to priorities. Not telling you shouldn't get it. Okay, so wood cap gloves are 600. You need 2 trackers. So the Vives go around what 150 each, so that's another 300. You're at 900. You need a minimum of like 2 base stations, but that's gonna have blind spots. That's 900 plus. It's 400 for each base station here. Plus 800, so 1,700. Do you see it, chat? Do you see that thing on the right side of your screen? Hi.
It's a cat.
It's a cat. Bye, cat.
They don't like to stay.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. Yeah, 3 base stations is the ideal. I have 4 base stations though, and I don't really have any issues with it. Yeah, so GPU, face tracking headset, and then yeah, you get whatever you want after. Got 8 gig of VRAM. Oh my god. Of all times for Beth to be listening. No, Bev, no, don't up. How about this? You try the ones you have first and then see if you need an upgrade, right? Also, hi, Bev. How'd your camping trip go? Able to pump everything out of that tent last time? God, water ingress truly is terrible. I heard Nor is better. I would say more is better in certain things, but I'll just joke. I'll just joke. Enjoy your vacation. Um, yeah, as Doran says, 3 base stations is great. I needed 4 because I have an L-shaped room, right? So essentially, I have 2 base stations per like segment of my room. Balls became splinters. Ooh. Had to replace the 10. Okay. What's this? Give some silly advice. If you call yourself cute, you're probably not. More is better. Gotcha. I'm gonna buy. You know, I honestly thought that you could have more than 4 base stations. It kind of makes sense. So every blind spot is going to be covered, but that is apparently not the case. It's not gonna work great once you go past 4. It's like it shuts off the other base station, so the new one will. I don't remember. I just skimmed through the topic. You see, Shiba, continuing on the advice I said, and my whole discussion about humility, you let others, describe you instead. You let your actions, you let your word, you let your everything but your own words describe you. Because you can call yourself handsome, you can call yourself this and that, but that's leaning closer to you gloating instead. But if you stay quiet, you be humble, you just work and go along. But then you let the people who care enough to compliment you actually compliment you. That's when things actually become genuine as a descriptor. And your grandma's probably right. To her eyes, you're the most handsome boy there is. Those cats want our undivided attention, it seems. Exactly. They're around. Isn't it fun joining these 2 people just hanging around outside the diner? Hold on, I should change this camera angle. It's a nice cinematic shot.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yes.
we've been hanging around for about an hour and 35 minutes.
You know what? That's true. Okay, let me see the car. Better. No, Vesper doesn't show on frame. I returned for a few minutes as Crystal about the peer review of few essays on ethnic studies. The stretch, yes. Wow. Yami is the most handsome boy. Yami is the most handsome boy. Name a time when cats don't want your undivided attention. Sometimes. And they're gonna get annoyed and, yes, show annoyance behavior.
Yes. Do you remember when I had Rook in my room last night?
Yeah.
She was so annoyed that I had to scoop her up and kick her out because I needed to go to bed.
Yeah. I know how that is. Rainy and windy, my tent went to the great campground in the sky. So, like, Beth's tent just flew away. Oh boy. Poor tent. Oh, I'm inside one. Oh, I don't have my pillow. Hold on. I should solve that.
Almost flew,
I sit inside.
almost doing things we used to do. There's a girl here and she's
Oh goodness, I turned off my overlays. Incredible.
almost all the things that you promised with your eyes, I see in hers too. Now your eyes are red from crying. Almost blue.
I'd fancy me some late night diner visits. Oh, it's really nice, especially when you're with the right company. Plus going out with friends and whatnot. Like, hey, let's go grab some food.
Me as a fool to be. Almost blue. Almost touching it will almost do.
Whoa.
There's a part of me that's always true. Always. All the things that you promised with your eyes, I see in yours too. Now
You know, this isn't so bad. Most of the times in places like these, you just find yourself quiet and listening to the ambience.
almost you.
Company doesn't always necessitate conversation, you know. It's not a 1:1 ratio. You can always have company in silence, which is what I do with most of my friends. The most I ever talk probably is when I'm on stream or during one of our little community hangouts.
You don't always have to be talking constantly to have a good time, anyways.
Precisely. Oh, am I sitting through that? Upsy daisy.
I guess a good example of that would just be me going like deathly.
The deadly lag, that's for sure.
Are we deathly like, yep, thanks. Alright. No, I just go deathly silent while we're playing Earth Defense Force. Wow.
EDF.
Yeah, EDF. EDF.
Yeah.
I go really quiet.
Focus. What's this?
Deathly laggy, okay.
There's just something so calming about those, or chilling in a small downtown underground bar. You mean like bar side rail lit? The first time we saw each other, oh, look at this anxious anime girl trying her best to have a good first impression. Yes, I will still not remember how that went. Look, now we're fast friends. Yes, how many times you're gonna bring that up? Why? Because you were cute. Vince, that situation was adorable. What was that question I asked in the mirror? Something along the lines of, you think I'm... No, you know what? I'm gonna spare Liz. Let her keep her dignity. As many times as he brings up Axel's tale. Oh my god, the tale bot. I will not forget that. That's the funniest thing. Yes, let's immediately changing the topic. We were also afraid it would be a friendship that lasted a mere week, given that he was moving away. Glad she's still here. Of the nicer people I've met. If only we could solve the whole full body debacle that she has. I wonder what it could be. Speak of which, I haven't replied to Mitzi. He sent me a DM about trackers.
Oh,
Hi there,
whoops.
Bones. Yep, I'll talk to him. Guy doesn't seem to be getting enough sleep. Nice turn. Hi. Yeah. Listen. I woke up before my alarm this morning. Oh, there. It spares me having to DM you. I didn't know it would be that expensive, Mitzi. We may have to opt for something prefabricated instead. But I appreciate the utterly detailed and well-composed replies that you've been giving me. Stupid trackers. I know. It's so strange not having Litz in VR chat anymore, right? She. No full body, no, like this. Ah, no, well. I'll be the master of Google logo soon. Sure. I didn't know you were still watching, Matthew. Which says, I figured, unless I cut corners with shipping and tariffs, it's hard to make small orders. And I completely understand. This seller is probably able to have lowered prices because they make the thing in bulk. If it's like small, piecemeal, specialty orders, most definitely the costs are going to be at least 50% more, which I understand. Now, I'm not opting for that not only because of the price, but because I don't want to burden you with it. Yes, Vesper is still in need of 3 trackers. So she can ankle rotate like this.
So far, I got this. It's kind of janky.
Percussive maintenance is probably the last thing Litz's trackers needs. I mean, her base stations. Ah, that's true. How much was it, Mitzi? Per tracker, we'd run like $60, was it? Or 69, I forget. I mean, we probably could make it work. 53 bucks. What do you think, best? $150 for 3 trackers?
Maybe not.
To be fair, I did get my LSMs, my trackers for shoot, how much was it? 40 bucks each. I mean, it's just a $13 difference though. Mitzi, let's say we place an order now. How long is it gonna take for you to ship the thing to Vesper? Why don't you order a coffee at that station there? I would if I had Beth around. I'm sure he would be more than happy to have the diner's good old brewed since this morning coffee. I'm sure he would. Coffee. Crystal too seems to be a big fan. Every morning I gotta have my cup of joe. Yes. Sadly, Dad makes the coffee weak, so I need like 6 more. Bev, just get the jar with the ground mix in it. And then, yeah, you put the hot water on it and like let it steep for like 30 minutes. Probably gonna get the strength that you're after. Making
Heart
coffee.
palpitations.
Oh, I'm sure Beth has it handled. He's an expert at these sort of things. Surely nothing he can't handle. Beth is eternal. He sure is. Not the Demon King for no reason. Crystal says, I have one of those big machines that grinds and presses the beans for me and can make coffee. Lattice, oh, the expensive Starbucks thing that makes a loud noise when you have to dispense the milk. I know what you're talking about. It's so noisy. It's so noisy when it's doing the thing. I'm sure. I'm sure Flake doesn't mind. You know, you get some Q-tips, you put some chilled British butter in each end, and then plug his ears with it. I'm sure the noise is not going to get through. Mm. Organic, ethically sourced.
A crime.
A crime. 100% a crime. Chilled British butter. So it's a little hard. You don't immediately taste the natural saltiness depending on the physical exertion of the churner though. So yes, yes. Precisely. No. Like on certain days where he needs to jog, it's more concentrated and when it's not, you know, British butter chat. Chilled British sounds like the name of a cocktail. Crystal says, but enough coffee to today. I have some Chinese black tea I brewed and I have some beer battered cod for lunch. Whew. Oh, that sounds nice. Buttered cod. Sea blue British butter. I'm sure they are gonna be delightful to your mates, but to women, they're, as you can see, made one disappear. Hey, don't blame me. Blame the one who puts a bagel in between two pieces of toast. That just gotta hit tea time, boss. May surely see you later. Take care. You too, Bess. That's true. We're already almost at 2 hours on the stream, and yeah, slow day. Oh, let's mask that. Wait, we do it.
You're
There
my
we
little
go.
soda
Wi-Fi
pop.
meta
See you later,
pulling
everyone.
their funny things. I'm back though.
Welcome back. See you around, Matthew. Thanks for dropping by. Bye bye, Matt. Same thing I told my college when I finished it. Bye, Matt. May we never meet each other again. I really want some fish and chips right now. So, The way Blue probably goes and makes his like fish is in order to get the fishy taste and texture. Should I go?
No.
In order to get the fishy taste and texture.
No. No. No.
I was gonna say, he needs some dough into fish shapes, right? Nothing wrong with that. Right. Some bread. Probably some pulverized 7-day-old bagels, right? You can reconstitute it into flour, make some British butter in it, and then
No.
so he ages it. He ferments it for like 2 weeks in his inventory.
No. Stop.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay. Stop. What's this? Anonym has decided to come and save the day. Thank you so much. We actually haven't paid the diner yet. That's why we're hanging out outside and thank you. It is also probably a nonne meow's way of keeping me quiet.
Meow.
And so the point one remains. Yes, Beth shall remain undefeated. Oh dear, oh my. Don't talk about old, outdated food. Like outdated, you mean like expired? Now, what was that funny sound Beth just made in the text to speech? You see, I may have said the word, the M-E-O-W, but I haven't said it in the way I would deliver it if you redeemed the 100,000 point sting. To those that witnessed it before, like Matthew is in tea time, you know it's a little special. There you go. There's the sound. You just heard it. Beth just did a funny number. Thanks, Beth. I am curious though. For you Americans, you see the diner behind me, right? It's a classic American diner. How much on average would be a meal for one? So the usual, you get your large drinks, you have something on the side, and then your main course, perchance a smoothie after. How much would that run you?
Place for me like well over $20.
15 to
Because
20
it's a
bucks.
diner.
A diner. Oh, okay. So 15 according to Pierre. Crystal's 15 to 20 bucks. Oh. So a classic single patty cheeseburger. So cheese, the lettuce, and then the tomato on top with your typical bun. A la carte. No fries, no drinks. How much would that be? From a diner.
$5 maybe.
$5. Damn. Oh. Bev says it depends on the region. When I was in California, it was more expensive than small towns, like in Alabama. Oh, I think about 5. On Crystal's area, it's more 8 to 12. Wow, that's expensive. Here, our burgers range from 2 pieces for $1 or 80 cents to one of them being like $6 each, but that's like the triple patty, bacon wrap, cheese sauce, spam, and egg with unlimited fries sort of burger. There's a place called Zark's Burgers here. That's the price range here. Huh. I'm in a big city in Texas. I see. I don't really get burgers. So what do you eat? Oh, you cannot eat the bread, the gluten, is it? Ignacio Icebread says, I was eating some Sloppy Joes and Sloppy Lenny's. Damn, two at the same time? I'm like, I could only take one sandwich at. Yeah, because Sloppy Joes are really filling. Beth says, think of it like this. Even McDonald's got rid of the dollar menu because everything costs more than $1 now. Ah. Oh. Just my hand. At least you still have the Costco hot dog. The Costco hot dog.
Yeah, funny story. The CEO threatened to kill someone if they raise the price of the hot dogs.
What, really?
Really?
That doesn't sound like a bad thing. Something an old man would say.
I don't know anything about the CEO of Costco. I just know
my
that one piece of information. $1.50 for a hot dog.
That's it. It must remain that way forever.
I mean, think of it. Hot dogs are basically just made out of the meat that people normally wouldn't want to use.
Delicious meat that people normally don't want to use. Like
Yeah.
chicken nuggets, I've seen how it's made. It's disgusting as heck, but I absolutely still love chicken nuggets and I'll eat like 100 pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of things,
It's just
when you prepare them,
a lot of
look,
things look gross when
they
prepared,
look gross.
but they're still delicious.
Like, for example, in the fiestas, right? We call it fiestas. It's like little, holidays? Was it? Like local holidays and gatherings in our town. I often see pigs being butchered live. So, like, you gotta dispatch them into cuttable form, and then the cutting and the cleaning, it smells, ugh. That part is gross. Not enough to turn me off because I enjoy the delicious, like, roast pork that everybody gets to have some after. It's part of life. When you eat meat, there's blood, there's guts, there's bones that has to be processed. Okay? Like burger patties aren't born as burger patties. They're cute little spotted animals
processed.
that graze on grass fields and whatnot. If they're lucky. Beth says meat is meat. I'll eat anything. Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
says
it's
my
pretty much
stomach
just-
has a hard time with fast food, but I do love me some chicken nuggets, 100%. Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, yeah, a lot of foods are taking the pieces of meat, like burgers and all that, are taking the pieces of meat that aren't pretty but still taste good.
Yeah? Like,
So really, it doesn't have to be perfect.
I, for one, absolutely love beef tendon. I don't know if you've tried that. It's in Chinese cuisine.
Never tried that.
Okay, it's gelatinous. It's not the gross gelatinous. It's like firm, collagen, thick, and absolutely beefy, brothy flavor to it. It doesn't have an oily film either, unlike biting into fat, which is gross. It's something you have to try in like a soup or something. Yeah. I used to enjoy liver a whole lot, especially chicken liver and chicken hearts together in the lungs. But then I realized how much uric acid organ meats has, and I don't want crystals poking out of my joints. giving me problems the rest of my life, so I stopped. But admittedly, I when I was still eating it was good. Also a big fan of pate, right? The little spread you put on bread. The closest thing to haggis, I think, Beth, is this thing called bopis. It's diced lungs, esophagus, heart, and other things, along with some carrots and sauteed in oyster sauce and soy sauce. It sounds disgusting, but once you like eat it, it's why is it so good? The one part where I draw the line is eating eating bile and eating the brains. Like, pass. I just don't like how it looks, it smells, and how it tastes and feels. But nowadays, all I have pretty much is just chicken, meat, and sometimes nice lean pork. I really watch what I eat. What is that, Blue? I know the word, but I didn't know it was food. Yeah, tell me what that is. Time for me to pop again. See you later, Kristen. Yeah, Mitzi, I tried it once or twice, and I it was because a relative put it in my favorite dish without telling me. And I was wondering, what is this gross, crumbly, pasty thing I just tasted? I was like, oh god, you didn't just put meatballs made from minced off cuts and offal. That sounds absolutely delicious, Blue. I could go for some right now. Oh. The smell of nice smoky herbal sausage. That when you poke it with a fork, the juices just go. You know, they like spray out, they spurt. Uh, you go on a barbecue. Sounds good. Hey, you. Yes, you, the person lurking, the person not chatting. If you would be so kind to entertain my question, and I mean it in the most positive manner, what keeps you watching? Like, what keeps you staying? I know you're there in the background lurking. Yes, this is the chance, the prompt for you to type something. Ignatius says, I like you. I like listening, watching, and observing. Pierre says, your soothing voice. I could fall asleep to it. Good night, Pierre. hope you dream of orange cats with funny swirly marks. Little Beanie says, it's relaxing. Not too little, not too much. It's perfect. I'm glad you find it that way. Yes.
There's a girl here and she's almost you. Almost.
So, are you telling me it's just a tab that's nice to have open on the side or the background while you focus on other things? I take it I'm not. My content isn't the type where you have to watch it 24/7, like all the time. Like you only check it periodically.
Well, I mean, it's not like we're going anywhere doing anything really all that hyper and exciting. We're just
That's
chilling
true.
out and talking.
Exactly.
I'm like other streamers who might be playing games in VR chat, dancing, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Like
We're just chilling
engaging
out, sitting
activities.
down.
It says. Yeah, I go down. Zastla comes out and says, Hi. Hi. I feel they're like I like the feel of the streams with the audio and visuals. I'm glad I found you on Twitter. Thank you so much for answering my question. I keep the stream on a secondary monitor. I take a look every now and then. I see. Ignatius just likes hanging out, chilling and being around cool people. Minty, charcoaly, fresh. Reminds me, I think I need to save up for a 100-liter water tank. There was a water outage earlier in the apartment, and my little 20-liter tank lasted a grand total of 40 seconds in the shower, or less. And water storage. Blue says, I wish I had a second screen, but I don't have the room unless I put it above my current screen on the wall next to me. I remember seeing your place is rather cramped. Batty says, I have the stream split screen with my drawing program. I just need to have my reference open, of course. Oh dear, the juggling. Zastia says, I need to remember that streams have the element of chatting. I'm too used to bigger streamers. I'm the opposite. I try and 100% engage with chat. Unless, of course, I'm like Queso, like his chat is just flooding so fast. Of course, of course. Vertical mounts that clap to desk. You mean clap? Do you want to see Blue like clap the desk? Like, you know, like clap the desk. I mean, he'd already do stuff with tanks. Why not? Anyway, moving on. What's this? Hello, Nord. Glad to have you. How's the index working for you? I told you got a bargain. Really big bargain. Gotta flood the chat, says Max Howler. I'm so used to it being like 4 a.m. my time already, or 3. But it's only 1. And I have 15 minutes to go. Can you imagine? We're gonna end early.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which is pretty good because I'll be ready to get some lunch.
And schoolwork. I hope your schoolwork doesn't take that long.
Yeah. I've got 2 discussions and a quiz to do, but that's it.
I see. Is it gonna be faster than yesterday?
Hopefully so.
Like 1 hour tops.
2 to 3.
How about you do your schoolwork now so we can play soon?
I mean, if you want me to leave.
No, we have 15 minutes. We're gonna stay for 15 more minutes. 15 more minutes. 100%. I mean, yeah, but like, any like, no reason for me to stay or leave early anyway. Yeah, of course. 15 more minutes. Only 15 more minutes. I don't mind staying because I got nothing planned out for today. Says Ignacia. 15 more minutes. Casually lies, says Doran. I'm still miffed that the significant other was not impressed with a canvas mirror thing. Damn, Doran. Know what to do to pass the time. The 2 to 3 hours is certain. Companion of mine will have to take. That says he means at least 15 minutes. No, he will stall for. Please. Look at lawbringers. Lawbringers. Some ad mortem inumicus going on. Oh yeah, Biff. When you get back, we get to play For Honor. Like, Litz has it, I have it, Howler has it, Vesper has it. I'll make sure to train the orange one.
Which kind of sucks because I've been more fixated on Helldivers than For Honor.
Don't worry, don't worry. You know, Biff's still gotta do his thing with his vacation.
So lucky that my laptop's to my left.
No idea what Vesper's talking about, you know. She's... I need to remember the combos for Big Hagim and Shugoki. He's too stubborn, just do things I ask. My goodness, we only have 11 minutes. 11 minutes. So close. Oh god, right when I don't know why, but right as I have to go, I start to enjoy the music, the music. Ah, yes. Try to look to your Twitter for a character reference. The page doesn't exist. Anywhere I can go to look. The Discord, or... Yeah, the Discord. You know, maybe I need to post one properly. You fancy drawing a sample of me? Thank you in advance. I bet it's gonna look great. I agree with Vesper's reaction. I would go into VR chats as Ignacia, but I'd never made an avatar for myself. And it's time to go look at Gumroad, find something close. What? She's having way too much fun. She's being evil.
I don't have a weapon, but I got this.
Totally not the voodoo doll. I see. What's stopping you then? You can always hop back in. Nice, Brent. What Batty said. Uh-oh. Yeah, color me curious. Let's see. I didn't know I had Unity open still.
Oops.
My performance has been pretty bad. Close. I am looking at Batty's art and it does look cute. Ooh. Is that a Nova Beast? No, looks like it. I think it is. No, it has horns. No idea. Adorbs all the same. Anyway, where were we? Oh my goodness, 7 minutos remaining. Are we gonna start up the car and go?
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna go eat first before doing schoolwork?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If I don't eat beforehand, I'm gonna have a hard time focusing.
Yep. Completely forgot I had like cheese chips right next to me. It's the same thing I was eating last time.
I said, oh, whoops, you forgot.
Ignacio says I went into VR chat in 2021 when the pandemic was still going on. I got into VR chat 2024. Last year.
I got into VR chat early 2020. It's
Best
just
person ancient.
still, yeah, just not on the same accounts though, because one I lost access to and frankly don't want access to again.
Oh, old friend groups.
Old friend groups, old bio, old habits that I just do not want to reflect upon.
Pinky old shoes she'd wear no longer. Did you want some chips, Jack? Oh, that's hard to put in my mouth. Speaking of being out in the wild, Beth, if you're still there, how long do you plan on camping, like outdoors? I mean, your tent is kind of untentable at the moment. I got a new tent. I'm here till Saturday. Oh. And then you're gonna go back to your folks' place and then back to Bolivia? Oh, okay. Look at me. I'm just eating chips out. I'm just eating chips outside the diner. Yes, I'm living the life 100%. Exciting. This is called Nova multigrain snacks. The flavor is country cheddar. I think this is like corn and wheat combined. That's just a land at Bolivia at 2 a.m. Monday. Then may or may not go to work, depend on how crushed my morale is with having to go back. At least you got your vacation. I'm sure your defenders will be happy to see you return. Oh no. Can you follow up? I sure hope you can. Getting hungry, Vesper.
Yes. Stream's almost over.
As promised, I would end stream at 2 hours and a half, chat. See? I can keep on schedule. 100%. After
Okay.
I ate my bag of chips.
All right, looks like I'll dip then.
Okay, okay. Now, Vesper, let's say goodbye to chat. Come on.
All right. Bye, chat. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Sleep well. Why do you want me to keep talking?
Because your fans will miss you.
And you're trying to finish your bag of chips.
I have maybe 15 pieces remaining. An extended goodbye. And what piece of advice can you give to people that are struggling with dieting? Yeah, that's a good question.
Why are you making me talk on that?
I mean, I'm eating, so that's yes.
Everything in moderation. That's all. So, like, say you like Oreos, right? You get like a whole pack of them. The serving size is 2. Just take 2. It sounds evil, I know, but at the same time,
Yeah.
but still satisfy those cravings while keeping yourself in check.
Two. Blue seems to be struggling with a diet and is interested keenly on the topic.
I really can't say much of anything about diets, considering I'm still eating whatever my parents make. But I'm just limiting my portions to what is appropriate.
So yeah, advice on that. When you live under a household where you really don't have control over what is served, but simply with the amount, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep, 5 more pieces. Got to. You're doing great, champ.
I'm not.
Mm. Hi, Thundertune. I'm just finishing the rest of my chips, and then I'm gonna go. I don't want to eat in the car. If I eat in the car, it's gonna fall all over the floor. The serving size is a lie, according to Beth. Muddy bites are a good chocolate snack for calorie count. Damn, I'm down to the crumbs. Two more pinches. Or 3. We don't have a lot of money, man. I gotta make the most of the bag.
Yeah, I know. Just dang, I gotta sit here while you're eating.
Come on, you love me,
Why
right?
must you torment me like this? Yes, I do, but at the same time, why do you have to torment me like this? Come on!
Mm. Okay. Okay, now, like, I got some advice that if you move too much after eating, you get appendicitis, so let's wait 10 minutes for it to go down. I'm joking, I just drank water.
I was about to say.
Okay. With that being said, Chan, we're both gonna like skedaddly do, and Vesper is super hungry too. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate your company today, and my hip trackers are occluded. And yeah, I wish you a great day or evening as well. Time for the goodbyes at last 30 minutes. Don't worry about it. I'm actually gonna come clean. I'm gonna come clean. Stick to schedule. So, good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. And good night, chat. I'll see you again on the ever so lovely Friday. If not on Monday. And yes, there's going to be exercise next week. Probably not this weekend because Mecha expressed that he's gonna be busy with things. I'll ping you guys when it's going to happen. But yes, sayonara, farewell, and goodbye. Catch you day after tomorrow. Make sure you eat your British butter, chat.